The things that worked before to develop that positive company culture still works today, but you have to practice them differently.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
And welcome back to the program, or welcome to the program if you are new to the Appraiser Coach Podcast. My name is Dustin Harris. I am the Appraiser Coach. I want to talk today a little bit about this new world that we live in. And when I say this new world that we live in, I'm not going to get political today. I'm not going to talk about masks or vaccines or the pandemic, really. But I am going to talk about some of the things that the pandemic has brought to our lives. Specifically, many of us, most of us, I would even dare say, are working remotely. Now, I understand, I get it. Statistics show that appraisers typically are not working with others, or if they do, it's usually someone that is close to them, a sister, a brother, an aunt, an uncle, a son, a daughter, a spouse even. Many of us don't have staff. I counted yesterday, we had a staff meeting. I have 17 now on staff. So a little bit of a different situation than most of you might find yourself in. But I think we can all relate to the fact that we all work in a remote world. And that's become more and more remote as the pandemic has kind of pushed us back into our homes, back into our personal spaces, and less brick and mortar. Now, I've seen other things as well. I've seen many different appraisers take different approaches. Many of you prefer brick and mortar. You prefer rubbing shoulders with others on a regular basis. But for the most part, I think most of us are working remotely. Question: how do you foster a great company culture when you are spread out all over the U.S. or yay, even all over the world? I want to pause here and remind you that we are sponsored by A La Mode software. A La Mode, of course, is the software that I use daily. I used it today, out and about. By the way, I'm going to share with you a little secret about the mobile app that will help save you about 15 minutes on every inspection. Stay tuned for that. But you can find out more at alamode.com or 800-ALA-MODE. Datamaster, of course, is the company that will save you 30 to 60 minutes on every stinking report that you work on. And when I say stinking report, 30 to 60 minutes is a big deal in our company and in our culture and in our industry. If you are not saving that time, you need to check out Datamaster by going to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's datamasterusa.com or Datamaster, depending on where you're from. And finally, we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. OREP is the E&O that I use regularly. That is my E&O company, and I renew with them yearly. It is simple. They save me money, and they've got my back. OREP, OREP.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, I want to talk about, I guess for lack of a better term, company culture, your vibe, if you will, within your business, your longevity, your family nature, if you will. There's many different ways that we can state it, but it basically comes down to the attitude that you and your employees have within your company. Now, this topic is not difficult to understand if you are in a brick and mortar company, and I was for many, many years. And the company culture looked something like this. We were very friendly for the most part. We were very intimate, meaning, no, don't go there. But we typically had small spaces that we were in. Sometimes we had 3-4 people in maybe 150 square foot office. So we've got, computers on one side, computers on the other side, and people are very close in proximity. And thus we talk and we laugh and we enjoy. And I would come in most mornings and I knew what everybody's favorite coffee was, and I would stop at the Java Hut on the way in and grab coffee for everyone and show up, sometimes unexpectedly, say 9:37 in the morning and walk through the door. Hey everybody, how's it going? Hey, I got your coffees. Distribute them, and we have a good talk. How are things going? What challenges are you dealing with? What's happened today that I need to know of? This was the culture that we were in, and it was very easy in that world to foster a culture of friendship, if you will, and I mean on a professional level. Very easy to, I stated all the time that we look at our employees as family. Now, granted, it doesn't go to that level, of course. Firing somebody is not like getting a divorce, but I kind of liked to look at my employees as being close-knit. And we had a good time together. We had fun together, and the vibe was good. The temperature in the room was good. I'm not talking about the physical temperature. I'm talking about the emotional temperature. If somebody was a downer to that temperature, typically that person did not last too long. And because it was, I can have somebody, and by the way, I've had this several times in my career where I've hired somebody who was very good at what they did. I mean, we're talking, they had skills that would blow you away, and they were working at a pay that was commensurate with their situation. Meaning, what they gave me in return for what I paid them every 2 weeks was well worth the exchange, in my opinion. Except when it came to attitude. And I found that on several occasions, I have let people go over the years, not specifically, hey, you got a bad attitude, you're out of here, but after multiple conversations, interviews, warnings, if you will, that, hey, that's not the way we work here. We've got a positive vibe here. We need you to be a part of that great company culture. And some people can't hack it. Some people bring too much of their personal life into the business world. Some people have such emotional baggage that it does not matter how well they do their job, they still struggle to make it a go, if you will, to be part of the company culture, and be a part of what we do. And I, over the years, have let people go simply because they could not keep a good vibe in the office. And here's why. I can be around pretty much anybody, for the most part, on a short period of time, right? But if you start to drag me down, meaning it's a chore for me to stay positive when I'm around you, that's a challenge. Now, I'm not necessarily going to let someone go for that particular thing. But if you are dragging the entire office into the pit of despair every day because of what you bring from home, because of what you bring from your life and your relationships, and maybe even just within the office, that everything is negative, that affects the overall productivity and, yes, the success of the office. And so I try, again, I don't have complete control over people and what they choose and their attitudes, for example, but I certainly, as the leader of the team, have the responsibility to help foster a positive relationship, help foster good attitudes. Now, let me make it very, very clear. I am not delusional. I certainly understand that human beings are human beings. We're not talking about copy machines here, right? That can be fixed, and if something's going wrong, you bring the technician in and you tweak this and you tweak that and you replace a part and boom, you're good to go again. We're talking about human beings with real emotions and real lives and real responsibilities and real relationships. And so I recognize that going into it. The law of delegation is not the same principle as the law of technology. Now, both of those laws will help us to be more productive and more efficient and more successful ultimately. But the end game here is that we have to understand that we're dealing with human beings, right? And that takes a certain amount of charisma and leadership, and it takes a certain amount of what Steve Covey would call the emotional bank account deposits, right, on a regular basis, so that when you have to make a withdrawal in that account, that you've got enough balance that it's okay. That when you have to get after somebody for something, that you've made enough deposits emotionally that's not going to put you in the negative, and put you upside down in the red, if you will. But the bottom line is we're dealing with people, and people come with stuff. Some people would use another S word. People come with this baggage and this idea that we're dealing with relationships and we're dealing with people. And sometimes Joan is not going to get along with Frank in the same office. And sometimes we have to foster certain things that help to move that along. But the bottom line is this, and the reason I spend so much time on that is to help us to understand that pre-pandemic, if you will, it was, I'm not going to say easy, but it was less hard to foster that good relationship within the office because you're there. Bringing coffee through the door for everybody in the office, and not everybody, I guess, in my office drinks coffee. Sometimes it was hot cocoa, but you get it. Bringing some gift, if you will, and saying, "Hey guys, sure love you. Here I am. Let's talk. What can we do? Oh, and here's something that I know you like and enjoy," was fairly easy. Now, that's not the only thing we would do, right? We would have company parties. We would certainly foster relationships in many, many different ways. Also monetarily, right? There's ways to foster relationships monetarily as well, and on a regular basis. Not just then, but now, I will reach out and, as the business owner, give bonuses, help people in their circumstances and their situations that are unique, that I feel like is nothing more than a give back of the great things that I've been given. That I think all fosters a great and wonderful relationship inside the office. But the point that I'm trying to make, it was much easier to do when you are all in the same office together. So how then, Dustin, do you foster this great relationship when you are spread out all over the world? I want to answer that when we come back from the break. But first, I want to pause here and remind you of 3 great companies and tell you a quick story. This morning, I showed up to an appointment, and I was literally there 17 minutes, right? Start to finish, 17 minutes. Oh, Dustin, you can't do an inspection in 17 minutes. Well, first of all, no one was there, so I didn't have to talk to anyone. It was on lockbox. It was very simple, and it was pretty straightforward. I'm almost going to call it a tract home, right? Pretty standard. It was about 1,600 square feet up, 1,600 square foot down, 3-bedroom, 2-bath on the main floor, 2-bedroom, 1-bath downstairs. Not a big deal. Inside a subdivision, not a big lot, no outbuildings, pretty straightforward, pretty simple property. But here's the thing that really saved me time. What saved me time is that when I opened up my Total mobile app, there was a sketch already done. Wait a minute, how is that possible, Dustin? You haven't been to the property before, had you? No, I had not. This was my first time at this particular property, but the sketch was in there. Why? Well, because my office is set up in such a way that they're going to reach out to the county, and they're going to see if there is a sketch. I would say about 80% of the time on the properties that we do, there is a sketch from the county. And yes, my office puts that into Total Mobile before I go out. Well, Dustin, you can't do that. You can't use county sketch. Well, first of all, yes, you can. And second of all, I don't just trust the county sketch. I definitely verify. I still had my laser measure in tow, and I certainly checked certain lines and certain measurements to make sure that the county sketch was right. I would say most of the time it is. Occasionally it's not. Really rarely it's way off, and I've got to delete and draw from scratch. But folks, these are the types of efficiencies that are allowed because we use Total, because we use a la mode in our office. If you need to find out more, want to find out more, check out their website, alamode.com, or pick up the phone and call them, 800-ALA-MODE. Speaking of saving time, DataMaster saves every appraiser that utilizes its services about 30 to 60 minutes report. By the way, folks, it's not just about data entry. This is a great company that is innovating and is continuing to grow and has an amazing set of tools inside its software. Yes, it can be used with Alamode. Yes, it can be used with some of these other software companies out there. Check it out. Go to datamasterusa.com. Again, it's Datamaster or datamasterusa.com. Finally, we're sponsored by OREP Insurance. Folks, it's pretty easy in my office to renew my E&O. Why? First of all, I don't have to do my homework anymore. I know what the best value is out there. Second of all, the application every year is simple and straightforward. Third, and most importantly, these people help me to get this done quickly and with as little headache as possible. Folks, does your E&O company work that way? Check out OREP Insurance, OREP.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We're talking today a little bit about company culture, but specifically, how do you foster that company culture when your staff, your crew, your employees, your contractors live across the world? Now, literally, in my office, we have 17 people that work for us, and seven of those are outside the United States. We've got people in the Philippines, in India, and in Colombia currently. And these are great people that I work with on a regular basis. They're wonderful people with a great skill set. But I've never met any of them in person. I also have employed individuals across the United States. I've got one individual that works for me in South Carolina, 2 individuals that work for me out of Florida, 1 person that works for me out of Minnesota, and several people that work spread out over Idaho. Folks, as of this recording, I have no brick and mortar office other than my appraiser coach office, which I often and affectionately refer to as my broom closet. I can almost spread my arms out and touch wall to wall. Well, it's a little bit bigger than that, but this is a very small office that I'm able to broadcast my podcast from and do my webinars and what have you. But this is not an appraisal office. This is my coaching office. Currently, I have no appraisal office unless you count my home office or, the occasional work that I might do from the seat that I'm in right now. And we've got 17 people, and no 2 of them work together. Well, I take that back. 2 of my contractors in Florida are husband and wife, so they, I guess, work in the same space. Other than that, no one works together. They're spread out all over. They log in the morning. They jump on the server, they jump on Zoom, they jump on WhatsApp, they jump on email, the phone calls and everything else, and the office runs, and it runs very well. Technology is amazing these days, and how you can work from across the globe and literally pick up the phone in the Philippines and sound as if you are in Idaho Falls, Idaho, and it works. Technology works. Human resources, they work. Everything kind of seems to work together pretty well for our good. But the one thing that we struggle with, and honestly, folks, I don't have the exact answer for this. I'm going to give you some ideas today. But it is a struggle, a constant ongoing struggle to make sure that company culture is strong. is positive, is uplifting, that people like and enjoy what they do. And it can be hard when you are stuck in your own bedroom, if you will, or den in your own home in northern Idaho, and you log in and you literally have never met any of these people before in person. Now, you might meet over Zoom and you might talk to them daily, right? I haven't seen my office manager in person for at least a year and a half. I think that's accurate. I'm trying to think through. Have I even gone to her house to drop something off? She actually lives within 15 miles of me, and I don't think, since the pandemic started, I do not think that I've actually seen her in person. I could be wrong, maybe once or twice, but I doubt it, right? And yet I talk to her 15 times a day, right? But how do you foster this positive and uplifting culture if you are not in the same room together? Well, let me give you, again, not a magic bullet, not the answer, the definitive answer, but I do want to share with you a couple of principles that I would ask you to think through. And they come back to what we talked about in the beginning of the program, right? The things that worked before to develop that positive company culture still works today, but you have to practice them differently. In other words, the principles are still the same. Let me give you an example. Gifts are still the same, right? I may not be able to show up with a handful of coffees and distribute them and hot cocoa, but I can still give, right? I can still find opportunities to give. I'll give you just a small example, right? And this is stupid, it's silly, but it just kind of gives you, an answer, if you will, an example of what I'm talking about. And the reason it's on my mind is because it happened this morning. I got a message last night from one of my employees who happens to live close to me, but again, works from her own home. And she said, Dustin, I'm using an internet connection that's my mom's, and she needs the computer as well. Do you have any thoughts and solutions? Well, I could have very easily answered back and said, well, Kate, just get a hub. Just get an Ethernet hub, and that way you can split the internet, and she can use hers, and you can use yours. The problem was she only had one plug-in. Well, instead of doing that, I said, I'll be over this evening, and we'll take care of it. Now, it happened this morning rather than this evening. A few things came up. But the bottom line is I showed up with a hub that I bought with company money, and I went to her den at her permission, and I rewired a couple of things, and within 15 minutes she's up and running. She did not have to lift a finger. She did not have to pay for anything, right? And I was able to still, from the company perspective at least, offer a gift. Now, I didn't show up with coffee, but I showed up with a gift. Right? I had an individual in the Philippines just recently have some health challenges, and she needed an oxygen tank, right? And it was something that I could do. And it was something that I wanted to do, right? And it didn't come out of her paycheck, and there was no expectation on any side, right? But I was able to assist and help her with some health challenges regarding to COVID, related to COVID, and be able to assist and help her where I could, right? These are just small things that I don't share with you to toot my own horn. I share with you to help give you an example of some of the ways that even when they are located across the world, that we can still help, we can still assist, we can still give, we can still foster this environment of goodness and benefit of all. A couple other things as we close out today that I will share with you that we do on a regular basis, and we get a lot of feedback for this, and it seems silly, it seems little, it seems like it's really not that big of a deal, but it really is a big deal to people. It really is this idea of, fostering this positive and uplifting company environment, right? And two of the things that we do, it's one thing, but we do it twice. What we do is celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. Now, it's not a big deal. It's certainly not a high-end thing. All we do is this. Everybody in the company, about a week before someone's work anniversary, okay, so they've been here a year, they've been here 2 years, they've been here 3 years, we will send out an email to everyone except them, and we will say, hey, it's Jem's birthday coming up, and she's been with us, it's her work anniversary coming up, and she's been with us 2 years next week. Would you please say something nice about Jem and what you appreciate her and get back to us? And then everyone will do so, and we'll put together an animated card online, right? An e-card, an electronic card that will then get sent out on their anniversary that says happy work anniversary. And every single person in the company, all 16 of us, will have written something nice and something uplifting about the others. About, hey, Jem, sure appreciate that you do this. Hey, thanks for being a great part of the team, blah, 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 blah. Again, not a big deal. Really is not a big deal. It takes a couple of minutes, couple of seconds, but it helps to foster. I've heard much feedback, from people. How amazing. In fact, I will tell you this story. This is somewhat on my mind because last week I was reminded by one of my employees that we had forgotten her work anniversary, and she noticed it. She recognized it. Now, the bottom line is we hadn't actually forgotten. What had happened is we put together her card, and then the individual that was supposed to send it to her got COVID and stayed home for a couple days, and it got lost in the shuffle. So we had not forgotten about her, but she did not get her card, and it was something she recognized. It was something she noticed. In other words, this is not a small thing. People look forward to that. They look forward to hearing good things about them from other people. It's a small thing, right? We do the same thing with birthdays. I will share with you one other idea that I've not done myself, but I did hear about one of my mastermind students who did this and had some success with it. It was not a raving success, right? But it was a successful thing. He was used to, prior to the pandemic, used to have a brick and mortar and would have an annual Christmas party. And this was a party that, on the company's dime, there would be catered food and alcohol and fun and games, and they would gather and they would have a fun evening together. Well, he couldn't do that, obviously, because of the pandemic last year. So what did he do? He put together a virtual party, a virtual social event, a virtual celebration. And he still bought food. He still bought alcohol. He still got together on Zoom, and everybody had their little party in their own house, but they had it together. He had some online games prepared that they could, interact with one another, enjoy each other. This is what he did. And it fostered a great company culture. Again, it wasn't a raving success. There's nothing quite like being there in person, of course. But he was doing what he could to foster that positive environment. Now, why, Dustin? Why does this matter? Well, if you're going to just simply talk about numbers, and today's podcast is not about numbers, but trust me when I say, right, that this idea of positive company culture is important. It's important to longevity. Think of the cost of turnover, right? When you hire somebody, train somebody, manage somebody, and then they end up quitting, 6 months later. That is a burden on a company. Helping to keep them in this environment that is positive and uplifting is an important thing, not just about the numbers, but about the relationships and about what we do, right? I mean, let's think about it. What we do as appraisers is value property. Big deal. Are we changing the world? Not really. But are we changing the way that we interact with others? Are we changing the world in our small little realm? I hope so. And I hope today you've received some great advice and some great innovation on how to continue to be successful in your own realm. A big shout out to my All-Star team. These are the types of questions and the types of things that we talk about all the time in the All-Star Team private Facebook group. I would love to see you join that and be a part of a great culture, a great uplifting group of appraisers. This is not your typical online appraiser group. This is a private group, and you're only allowed in there if you can be positive and helpful to one another. It's a great, great group of people. Join us, please. Go to theappraisercoach.com and click on memberships.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star Team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.